and this is Lab 4, Faraday's Law. In empty space, we've observed that unsupported bodies will fall downwards with an acceleration of 9.8 meters per second squared, assuming that air resistance or drag are negligible. In this lab, we're going to observe a magnet falling down a tube of aluminum and the interactions the magnet and the aluminum have. The resulting interaction is a representation of Faraday's law, which states that any change in the magnetic environment of a coil of wire will cause a voltage to be induced in the coil. In this experiment, a falling magnet will be the source of the external field, and the tube of aluminum foil contains the induced current. These are the materials that we will be using for this lab. Aluminum was chosen for this experiment as opposed to ferrous tube because ferrous tubes are magnetic and would attract or repel the magnet. For the procedure of the lab, first we found the north pole of the bar magnet using the magnetometer app. We'll position the tube vertically, and while recording a video that shows the full length of the tube, drop the magnet north side down through the center. We're going to be recording the time that it takes for the magnet to drop and repeat for a total of 5 trials. We observed that the magnet drops with a slower total time and rate of falling through the tube as compared to a magnet of the same mass falling in free space without the tube. The average time to fall through the tube was found to be 2.22 seconds. We created a computational model of the falling magnet. In this model, the bar magnet is modeled as a point dipole, and the conductive tube is modeled as a stack of non-interacting conductive rings. The red and blue rings that drop down the tube with the magnet represent currents flowing in opposite directions. The red represents a counterclockwise movement as the north pole of the magnet is dropped headfirst into the tube. The blue ring represents clockwise movement from the south pole. This is a representation of Lenz's law. If the magnets were flipped, the current would flow in the other direction as shown in the figure. The average drop time for the experiment conducted was 2.2 seconds, while the computational model showed a predictive time of 7.7 seconds. The discrepancies may be due to many human factors, which include but are not limited to the impact of the cardboard on the inner radius of the aluminum tube interfering, and the magnet not dropping exactly straight down. When plotted, the velocity versus time plot drops quickly, increases quickly to a plateau, and then stays fairly constant until it drops again. As we stated, the moving magnet induces a current in the tube. The current will create a field that wants to cancel out the magnet's increasing magnetic field in the metal through Lenz's law. As the south pole of the magnet goes through the quote-unquote ring, each of them, the opposite poles of the induced field and south pole attract, which makes the magnet experience an upwards pull or resistance. As the magnet slows down, it stops generating as much current, which in turn reduces the resistance. However, gravity comes into play the entire time, which pulls the magnet down and speeds it up again until it reaches the amount needed to create that resistance again. This oscillation occurs until the magnet drops from the tube. If the resistivity of the conductor were reduced as close as possible to 0, then we would find that the falling magnet's acceleration would be closer to that of if gravity was the only thing in play. If holes or slots were cut into the tube, we would see a bigger oscillation motion, as the magnet would have a larger time to fall before it hits that resistance again. The glow script code is shown in this link.